Oh boy. How about that show, huh? Hell in a Cell 2017. Lots to unpack here. Let's get right into it. The pre-show match is the Hype Bros taking on Benjables. That is the name I want everyone to use from now on regarding Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable. A surprisingly competitive match here. I did not expect it to go nearly as long as it did or for it to be as competitive and have as many near falls and false finishes as this one did. Of course, Benjables do win at the end with the double team maneuver onto Zack Ryder. Mojo is in shock. Another thing I'm surprised about, I kind of wish that they, had pulled the trigger and finally shown the end result of where this is going. I think to make the pre-show a little more interesting and more worth watching, to have some pivotal storyline moment happen in that thing makes you want to watch the pre-shows from the future. You don't know what's going to happen next, sort of thing. So yeah, they're probably going to say that till Smackdown or the week after or whatever. They're just drawing this out further and further. But again, the question is, like, who's going to turn on who? The first official match of the show is, of course, SmackDown Tag Titles, Hell in a Cell, the New Day defending against the Usos. And wow, I mean, what an amazing opening contest this was. This is right up there for match of the night. Depending on what your flavor is, what your style that you like, this or the main event was the match of the night material. And this one just blew me away in terms of like the level of violence they used, how innovative a lot of the stuff they did was there. It was so much great spots. Too numerous to list all here. I will say there's some cringeworthy things too, like awe-inspiring cringeworthy things, like when Big E did the spear through the ropes into the wall. That was scary. At one point, one of the Usos, did a crossbody or a dive onto Big E when Big E was on the other Uso brother's shoulders. Big E with an uranagi and throwing him down, and Xavier Woods coming sliding in with the backstabber. Just amazing stuff. At one point, they trapped one of the Usos with the kendo sticks and had him bound up there. How do you escape? I had no idea, but that was crazy. And then Xavier, the very kind of uncomfortable imagery of Xavier Woods being hung from this post in the turnbuckle, and these guys whipping the shit out of him with Singapore canes. It was so brutal. And at times there was some lighthearted stuff too, when Xavier was beating the Usos up with Francesca and a cowbell and a gong. It really ran the gamut of lighthearted stuff that was still entertaining, but also just this brutal stuff that was just so jaw-dropping in its scope and its style. I loved it. Of course, the Usos win the match after doing a double splash onto Xavier with the chair on top after they beat him some more with the kendo stick. This match, in my opinion, will revolutionize tag team wrestling in the company, much in the same way the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys did in 2000. That is my kind of prediction long term. This was one of those matches that it's going to stay good forever. So then Orton and Rusev had the terrible task of having to try and follow that match. It was a good match. I thought it told a really good story. I think everyone looked good. I did like at the end when Rusev tried to counter Orton's wake-up taunt with an accolade attempt. That was really cool. Ultimately, Orton falls to a single RKO. I don't know if he blocked any in this match, blocked any attempts. But yeah, I feel like Rusev has fallen to the RKO lately more than almost anyone else. I mean, even Jinder Mahal went over on Randy Orton, and I'm sure he took an RKO or two. So yeah, not a good look for Rusev. I feel bad for him. I want to see him bounce back from this, but I don't know what his next. I mean, really, for him and Orton, what's their next thing going to be? Who really knows? U.S. title match as AJ Styles defending against Baron Corbin and Ty Dillinger, who they added during the pre-show to make it a triple threat match, which I thought was fine. It was nice of them to give us the match that I think a lot of fans wanted to see happen, or at the very least expected to see happen based on where the story was going. And I think Dillinger's involvement did make the match a little more exciting. I think the second half of the match really picked up and made it very fun to watch. The match ends when Styles hits Ty with the phenomenal forearm. Corbin runs in and ever the opportunist knocks Styles out of the ring. The bump that Styles took after he was hanging up on the ropes for a second, and Corbin hit him the second time to fall out of the ring. Looks like a pretty nasty spill. Corbin he pins Ty to win the U.S. Championship. He's the new champion now, and it's a good way to keep Styles protected. He doesn't have to eat the loss. Ty takes it for him, and I think it's interesting. It's a nice consolation prize for Corbin after having lost Money in the Bank. Sometimes I wonder if the company intentionally leaks false negative news about certain wrestlers to kind of throw us off the scent or give them a buzz about them just before they give them a singles push with the championship. Because I feel like we all for a minute, I feel like we all kind of worked here. Because a lot of people were reporting, oh, you know, Baron Corbin's in the doghouse, this and that. And even I bought into it. And now he's the U.S. champion. I don't know how long it's going to last. But, you know, for him to win here in this match in this way, I think is good for him. It's definitely an improvement from losing in a fluke roll-up from Ty last week on Smackdown. Smackdown Women's Championship on the line as Natalya defends against Charlotte. I feel like the promo package that they had for this match, where they talked a lot about Ric Flair's health scare, I think this moment here is the most exploitative they got about like talking about Flair's health scare to give Charlotte more sympathy and to give Natty more heat. They did it a little bit here and there in the build, but only in like really short bursts, and more so in commentary than in the actions of the wrestlers themselves. So I think they had good restraint here, in my opinion, of not totally over sensationalizing Ric Flair's near-death experience and how that's going to impact Charlotte in this match. It wasn't a bad match, but again, I think the heat really could have come from the fact that these two have wrestled before and have had a very heated rivalry going back to NXT, you know, the Hearts versus the Flairs, that sort of thing. You know, the whole story is Charlotte's getting her knee worked over. She is able to climb up and do the big moonsault off the top out to the outside, which again, pretty nasty looking fall. Then Natalya just goes nuts and starts clobbering Charlotte with a steel chair to get disqualified. Charlotte wins, but Natty keeps the belt. No sign of Carmella. I guess they're still waiting for the time to be just right. We got the return of the Fashion Files, and I mean, this one didn't have the same kind of pep and zing and pow as the previous Fashion Files did. This is definitely the weakest one I've seen in a while. You know, they do another Ascension resolution, like, oh, it was the Ascension all along. I guess that's going to be the running gag at this point. Every storyline, every case they're on is going to lead to the Ascension, and we're all going to get sick of it every time it happens. I don't think anything's going to come from that because they have a new case at the very end. They're doing Pulp Fiction homage. We'll see if that goes anywhere beyond the Ascension. At this point, I'm not that optimistic that's going to be the case. Jinder Mahal defends the WWE Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. This match, I think, right off the bat, I will say, it felt better to me than their SummerSlam match. I don't think they really clicked at SummerSlam as well as they did in this one. I think the work was a bit better, even though it still wasn't that great of a match. It was boring. What the crowd told you was true. There was a boring chant here and there in the match. It just, you know, I felt bad for really everyone who wasn't involved at the beginning or end of the show, because those matches were going to be hard to beat. But these guys, their styles just don't work together, it seems, because Jinder's is just kind of like, it feels like a boilerplate kind of wrestling style. And it borders on slow and methodical. And Jinder's whole thing, his style, the strong style thing he's doing, it's not working with Jinder here. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a lack of chemistry. I don't know who's to blame more for it, because I think Jinder's a competent worker, but with styles, nothing is just not clicking. And this is not getting over. Like I said before, I've been hating the build to this particular feud. And the fact that Jinder won clean, I think, which was a huge shock to me. Like, the Singh brothers were ejected, which, by the way, got the biggest pop of the show, or the match, I should say. So the Singhs get ejected. Jinder wins clean anyway. And so it's a great win for Jinder. I think it's great because it helps further legitimize him. He didn't really have to cheat. He didn't have to use the Singh brothers to do it. Like, it was all kind of on his own, basically, because the match went on for another minute and a half or so after the Singhs got eliminated or ejected. So, but yeah, Shinsuke didn't look good here. It's not a good look for him to lose 2 in a row to Jinder when he went over clean on guys like Orton and Cena in the last couple of months. And I feel like he hasn't been wrestling enough to really establish more of a resume. He's been very limited in the last couple of months. At this point, I'm certain they're going to wrestle one more time for the title at Survivor Series, and third time will be the charm for Shinsuke, and he'll win. But will it be too late at that point? Oh boy, I forgot this match was happening tonight. Bobby Roode taking on Dolph Ziggler in Roode's main roster pay-per-view debut. Ziggler coming out to no music, no lights, no videos, no nothing. Very serious, very R-Truth 2011 style. And it was a good match, nothing too wild or memorable. Both guys, you know what to expect from both these guys, both very good workers. So, but this match, there didn't feel like there was a lot of heat to it. Something was just not resonating with me watching this match. Again, it was a good match, but it was like, okay, this could have been on SmackDown, I feel like. There's a roll-up counter fest, in the middle of the ring, and then Roode gets the upper hand by, doing the roll-up on Ziggler, grabbing the tights to win the match. So he wins, but he's immediately laid out with a zigzag. So who goes over in that bit? Because Ziggler loses the match, but he ends up on top, and I guess it's going to be a way to continue the feud. But just looking at it in a bubble in this little bit, not a terrific way for the latest big NXT star to debut on pay-per-view. Because, Dolph Ziggler, it's like he's portrayed on television as a perennial loser. He's a guy who loses a lot of his matches. So if Bobby Roode, can beat him kind of by the skin of his teeth and then also get laid out by him, what's that say about Bobby Roode? But all that was just a palate cleanser for the main event, Hell in a Cell match, Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon, and again, they started very strong, they ended very strong. My God, I use the word brutal a lot to describe these two matches because they are hard to watch, but you cannot look away. The amount of stuff that Shane and Kevin did to each other in this show, to each other and to themselves, was pretty impressive to watch. Again, just as captivating as the opening match, the tag version, but for very different reasons. Not quite as innovative, but every bit as exciting. At one point, though, the one thing that kind of made me laugh was Kevin Owens grabbing Shane's face and rubbing it into the chain link in front of Shane's children, and the camera pans over to the kids, and they're smiling. Someone get Jim Cornette out of here to slap some sense into them, because these kids don't know how to friggin' work. Kevin has Shane on the table and goes to the top of the cell, and he's getting ready to jump, but he's psyching himself out, and that was just a brilliant moment, just to see him have that moment of hesitation, not quite ready to put himself on the line and put everything on the line for this one moment to put Shane out. And that was, again, a great heel move, the fact that he didn't even do it. And then you've got he and Shane fighting for ages on the top of the cell. I think this is the longest any two people have been on the cell fighting at one time in the history of the match. I could be wrong, but it certainly felt that way. And seeing the bumps that they were taking on just this one panel of cell roof, they must have really extra fortified that one, because every time they took a bump was the most nerve-wracking experience, because we've all seen what happened to Mick Foley when he got chokeslammed on the top of the original Hell in the Cell in '98. And we just see that going through our heads every time we saw Shane or Kevin take a big-ass bump into that cell roof, and it's like, well, we didn't know, and it didn't happen. But that was, oh man, I was getting sick watching this and seeing it go on and on and on. They make their way back down to the side of the cell by the announce tables. Shane throws Kevin off of the side and onto one table, then he puts Kevin on another table, climbs the cell again, goes to do the elbow drop, and then he misses. Kevin gets off the table just at the nick of time, thanks to someone pulling him off. Who was it? Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, the one who's been feuding with Kevin Owens on and off for so long and just had this bitter feud, who just a couple of weeks ago was destroyed on the apron again by a powerbomb from Kevin Owens. And, Sami, what are you doing? What's happening here? Just after the end, when Shane crashes to the table and Sami gets Kevin to go, he rolls his unconscious body on top of Shane's for Kevin to win the match. And you just see Sami's face. He looks conflicted, nauseated, traumatized, possibly aroused. I don't know. But that's the huge mystery. Why, Sami? Why? People are already kind of speculating as to why it happened. Some people say it's because they're both Canadians, which that's kind of the weakest one I've heard. But, I think it's an issue of deep down, he still thinks that Kevin can be saved. He can still be redeemed. And so deep down, he still has, feelings as a friend for Kevin Owens, and he does not want to see him die at the hands of Shane McMahon. People, on the comment section for the last couple of days, where people were predicting that Sami was going to turn heel. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of see that might happen, but where that comes from, I don't know what the motivation is here. We will hopefully find out on Tuesday. But yeah, amazing match all around. Just the stunts that both these guys did, again, to themselves and to each other. Both men are to be commended. Fade to black. Shane's punches still suck. My final grade for Hell in a Cell 2017 is going to be a solid B grade. Now, some of my viewers with good memories might recall that I gave Battleground 2017 a B+ grade. And look, forget what I said about Battleground 2017. I don't know what I was thinking giving it that grade. I've looked back on it since then and realized I graded on way too much of a curve. It's not a better pay-per-view than Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell beats that one by miles. Maybe I'll reconfigure the grade for Battleground to more of a C grade, C+ maybe. No, this one, Hell in a Cell, it beats that by a mile. Amazing beginning and end to this show with the Hell in a Cell matches. And even though I don't count the pre-show, hey, it was a really good tag team match of the pre-show. I figured after the Usos and New Day, I'm like, well, that's the end of the show. It can't get better than this. A better than expected pre-show match and an amazing Hell in a Cell tag match. That's it. That's all you gotta do. As far as the rest of the mid-card goes, I loved the US Championship match, and even Rusev and Orton really got my attention a lot. The rest of the mid-card wasn't that great, kind of lackluster. And again, Shane's punches still suck, and I think the Fashion Files for this show was just, again, not their greatest outing. So that's my overall thoughts on Hell in a Cell. Again, started strong, ended strong, and when you look at the sum of its parts, I think it's one of the strongest pay-per-views. Definitely like the best, or one of the best B-show pay-per-views, brand exclusive pay-per-views of 2017. Let me know what you guys think about that. But before we go to the end of this video, it's time for Who Wore Better Pay-Per-View Style. So this month we're comparing No Mercy to Hell in a Cell. Now, I went to No Mercy live a couple of weeks ago. I was in the crowd, and when you're in the crowd of a show, even if it's an average show at best, being in the live audience and feeling the energy surrounding you can make shows more enjoyable. That has happened to me a couple of times since I've been going to live shows the last couple of years. But even then, that does not make No Mercy a better show than Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell, compared to No Mercy, again, miles better, because again, the strength of those two Hell in a Cell matches just blew everything away in No Mercy. Nothing on that pay-per-view could top what we saw on Sunday. And Cena and Reigns was great. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what other matches they had that I was really interested in, really captivated me. Oh, Cesaro and Sheamus and Rollins and Ambrose. Two great matches. Probably the two best matches of that night. And then, but you can't compare it to, you know, Hell in a Cell. And that's the way I kind of see it. So what did you guys think of Hell in a Cell this year? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret. Buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. And check out Patreon.com/WrestlingWithRegret for exclusive perks and some additional bonus content. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.